Hello, good morning. Welcome to another Thoughts and Updates this weekend. Is this the last weekend of May, 5 months into 2020? And here we are once again in the house. We're on lockdown. I have been trying to think of places that I will go to on a Sunday morning in order to record these in the future, because we're going to get out of this at some point. Although right now we are in lockdown. But what's the rules? In Scotland, it's very simple and it's very clear. Stay at home. Just cut the nonsense out and stay at home. Don't go and sit in other people's houses. Don't spend time outside the house you don't need to. And if you've got any kind of symptom, then go and self-isolate properly at home. Don't move. Don't go anywhere. That's it. It's dead easy. But in England, well, the way in which Dominic Cummings, who is the Prime Minister's chief advisor and a man who brought us Brexit, and somebody who is, we are all told, a genius of political machinations and campaigning, has taken a sick person in his car with a 4-year-old child to go to a place near his family, 260 miles away from where he lives. Obviously without getting any petrol, because he managed to do that without getting out the car or possibly infecting other people, allegedly. And then staying in a house, getting his family to do a Tesco's, you know, that thing where they deliver to your house. And then he caught it from her, his wife, who had it. They looked after a 4-year-old child. Nobody else came in the house, allegedly. Nobody else came to help them, allegedly, apart from family. And they self-isolated there for 14 days in a family home that nobody else had been in and nobody else was in. And then he came toddling on back down to London for work when he was, after 2 weeks of isolation, fine and well and dandy. Government have bent over backwards without the Vaseline in order to prove that this is the case, that we should all just calm down and shut up. It was exactly as you would expect a father to do during times when you were told to stay at home, self-isolate at home, don't move from home, stay at home. Unless, of course, you're Dominic Cummings and you're one of the Prime Minister's chief advisors and you run the government, in which case, run about the country. It's fine. It's okay. The rules are only for the stupid ones. 2 government advisors have already resigned and been forced to resign because they broke lockdown rules. But it looks as though the Conservative Party and the government are going to attempt to keep this guy in post until yesterday, of course, where it was discovered that he'd not only broken them once, he'd broken the lockdown rules at least twice, because he had been spotted with his child and his wife 30 miles away from this home, which therefore makes it either nearly 300 or just over 200 miles away from the London home he was supposed to be in at another time. So, will he stay or will he go now? Who's to know? But it's certainly a clash of how people interpret the rules. And it's tough. It's hard staying at home. Your health suffers in so many different ways, and you want to get out and you want to have the fresh air on your face and feel the breeze. And the fact that this is a bank holiday is tough, more I think for England, because next week is actually half term, so they're going to have a school holiday to contend with as well. But do you know something? We'll get through the Easter holidays, we'll get through this holiday, and out there it's not very nice, which is why I'm in a house. It's absolutely Baltic outside, and on top of that there's a wind blowing. There's been a bit of a gale. So what's the deal here? The government, as in the British government this week, have been all over the place. They've told us to do X, then they've said don't do X, then they've said do Y instead, and then they've said Y's not right. And it's just been flip-flopping like a fish on a trawlerman's fishing vessel. It's just been daft. It's been terrible. But we're staying at home in Scotland. We're doing our best in order to get this flatlined, so that when we do come out, we're going to be in a position where it is far, far better, far, far easier for us. We've got, down in England, schools going back. One of my colleagues, my ex-students, is over in Germany. She's already back, and some of the things that they've put in place in Germany are very interesting. Don't know how well they're working, but the idea of going back to any form of normality in Scotland has been delayed till at least August. Because the Scottish Government said we are not sending kids back into school until at least then, which I think is an exceptionally sensible thing to do. There will be plans in place for primary ones, primary sevens going into second year, I think over the next 3-4 weeks to support them. So those that are doing the transition into primary, into secondary, are going to get some kind of support, maybe some kind of visit, some kind of something, which I think is also very sensible. But how many parents are going to throw their wains in the middle of a pandemic into a place where there's going to be several more wains? I don't know. So this week, for me, I must stop doing that, has been a good week. I've lost a lot of tutoring face-to-face because of the pandemic, which has been a bit of cash that's gone missing. Not that I was absolutely desperate for it whatsoever, but there's swings and roundabouts. Because of the pandemic, the online tutoring that I was doing for ICS Learn, we've had to find a way of getting a grade. They've sat an exam, I'm going to mark the exam, I'm going to be paid for doing that, so that replaces some of that. And then there's online tutoring, which I was never really up for doing, and I've now done, and I'm finding it great. One of the kids that I used to tutor, possibly 2, maybe 3, will be coming on to do that, but I've picked up 5 others. One of whom is a drama student who is 14, she's down in Manchester, and therefore the online stuff is a lot easier than face-to-face. I don't know if I can afford the petrol every week, but this is really good stuff, and I'm really kind of enjoying it, and I've started to get my head round again how to put the hour-long tutorial together, which helps my day and daily work, and it's part of my own CPD as well, where I'm designing, looking at 45-minute slots for some of the kids that we've got in care and thinking about how we do them, and how we get the best out of the kids, which is tough. At the moment, we don't go and visit them because of the lockdown and so on, but we're asking care staff to help the kids out, and that seems to be working as you would expect. Like with parents, well in some places, not so well in others, because that's just the nature of what we've got. But what is astonishing, some of these kids, is just exactly that, the resilience, incredible resilience, credible ability, not just to school, I'm not at school, I'm not doing anything, stuff you, but also the outside of that happens for a little while. There's a little bit of, oh gosh, we're a bit of a holiday, you can't control me kind of stuff. Not all of them, I have to say, but some of them, and then boredom kicks in and they start to engage, and we've got some fantastic work out of some of these kids, unbelievable work, some artwork, some creative writing, which is astonishing, absolutely astonishing stuff. There's one kid in particular, I would say, it's probably the best creative writing I've read for some considerable time from any child. And it comes from experience and life living, I think, and it's amazing. I've also been writing quite copiously this week, yesterday in particular, and talking boys stuff, looking at Michael Mooney, featherweight from down in England, who's a very honest guy, a journeyman who's lost 75 out of his 80-odd fights, but get in it in order to make money for his son, make money for his family. And people during this pandemic must remember that some of these sports stars, as I think it was Leslie Manley had said, actors are not all actors are loaded, not all sports stars are loaded. They need the day and daily, the weekly, the events that they go and they perform in, and they get the adulation, but they also require the income that comes through the door in order to support their family. And Michael Mooney is somebody who got into being a boxer and fighting on a regular basis to put food on the table. I enjoy doing these journeyman unsung heroes of the week, because it's the guys who are the backbone, the key workers, if you will, of boxing, and it's a joy. However, the other not so big a joy was Cyclone Promotions, and looking at the fallout between them, Carl Frampton and Josh Taylor. Not in any kind of detail, because I don't know enough in terms of having spoken to people to do it in detail, but looking at what might happen. Coming out of this pandemic, there's a lot of people talking about boxing promoters not being able to survive. Who are we going to lose? Is it going to be your Steffi Bill promotions in your small halls? It's certainly not going to be Frank Warren, and it's not going to be Eddie Hearn, I don't think. But who's going to come out of it with a company still intact? But with Cyclone, Cal Frampton and the McGuigans were on a BBC documentary, so close, very much family. A few months afterwards, Cal Frampton left in much acrimony. Josh Taylor did it in much the same way, but there's a lot more public angst, anger and pain out there from people who were hurt by him in the McGuigan family. So who knows what's going to come out of that. I've been reviewing online, did a couple of things audio, which I really enjoyed. Waiting for Hamlet and Black Shuck. Go and have a look at them. I have a listen to them, especially Waiting for Hamlet. Tim Marriott is one of the actors. I've always liked him since he buttonholed me in a bar during the Fringe to talk about the play that he was directing, which, if I remember, it was Shell Shock, which was about PTSD. Young guy who was an actor who wasn't actually going to be an actor and left the piece afterwards. An astonishing performance, a real jaw on the floor stuff. And Tim performs in Waiting for Hamlet and is great, absolutely great. He really has such a tremendous vocal range in terms of emotion, because he's an actor who's lived, and it's just great to hear. I also saw Electrolyte, which was a Scottish Mental Health Arts and Film Festival at Scottish Mental Health Week. It is Mental Health Awareness Week for the whole of the UK, I think, and this was just an astonishing performance, how somebody can tell a tale which is their perception of something, only to find towards the end of their time that it was actually not true, but their behaviour was governed by that, and all of the slights, the insults, the falling outs that they felt they had justification of being upset and angry about all turned out to be a delusion. It was an astonishing piece of theatre. I thought it was fantastic. And it's interesting because there are those three pieces of theatre which are online, which were all, for me, outstanding, great, fantastic, highly recommended, definitely up there. Nobody's going to put rubbish up, I don't think, that's going to be so public. So that was great. I also would commend Dogstar Theatre's Cyclone the Fox, which is a documentary about Matthew Zajic is going to see about the stories his dad told. And this is a waiting. The story, the play, is called The Tailor of Inverness, which I always wanted to see, really wanted to see, and it's about his father telling the tale about how he was in a Polish. He was Polish. He was captured by the Russians, escaped, went round half the world through Iran, Iraq, Syria, up into Italy, captured, joined the British there, and then was released from there at the end of the Second World War, and came to eventually live in Inverness. The truth is different, and it cost me £8 to buy it, and I just loved it. Thought it was great, and it tells the story of Matthew going back into Poland and going to find what the truth actually was, and it's a difficult journey for him. For Ringside Report, it was Bernard Taylor, a 3 times world titleist, who fought Barry McGuigan, bit of a circular thing going on there, from Cyclone, and for his world title in Belfast, and didn't manage to take it from him. 3 times he fought for a world title, 3 times he didn't manage it, but an astonishing amateur, nearly 500 amateur fights, won 90 odd % of them. I think he lost about 8. Incredible. And for Scottish Football Supporters Association, 2 pieces this week. First one, got a survey coming out about what Scottish football is going to look like coming out of the pandemic, and this for me is very important. I know that Lachlan Cameron, the owner and chairman of Ayr United, was on Sports Sound yesterday talking away. We've furloughed our players and extended their contracts so that they will keep being looked after, whereas others have said that this might be dishonest. I think it was Dunfermline released 12. I think any kind of support that you can give to sportsmen or actors, sportsmen, anybody in the industry that we all crave And somebody put up yesterday, just as a kind of comparison, almost twice as many people go to the theatre as go to watch football in the United Kingdom. You know, we're talking very much about sport and football in many ways that we're not talking about theatre. And my scurrilous piece this week, Chris Sutton suggested that Alan McCoist was on the bucky when McCoist had suggested that Rangers could have caught Celtic, despite the fact that they were 13 points behind. So I put Chris Sutton and Alan McCoist and his neighbours talking about in the week or fortnight in which the Chelsea Flower Show would have happened, a flower show, and the annual rival between them for Best of Bloom. Using their words, at least Chris Sutton's, from what he had said in an interview this week for some radio station, and it's about their fallout. So that will hopefully get up into the website sometime soon. And that has been kind of the week. The week ahead, hopefully, for some of you who like the Sun, I don't, it will improve. But for the rest of us, I've got a funny feeling I'm going to feel like staying in for the week. How about you? Till next week. Bye for now.